to listen. No one left to listen. Right now we're taking control. Tired of waiting. Tired of waiting for something new. Right now we're taking control. Tired of waiting. Tired of waiting for something new. Twist the knife and feed the sacrifice when there's no one left to listen. No one left to listen. Say goodbye. The king will die tonight, and now everyone will listen. Everyone will listen. Right now we're taking control. Tired of waiting. Tired of waiting for something new. Right now we're taking control. Tired of waiting. Tired of waiting for something new. Cause it's never enough to know the truth. When you've lost all you know, there's nothing to lose. Right now we're taking control. Tired of waiting. Tired of waiting for something new. Right now we're taking control. Tired of waiting. Tired of waiting for something new. Right now we're taking control. Tired of waiting. Tired of waiting for something new.
I'm taking my pain away. Nothing else more to say. Everything that I have, I'll give. First, you gotta pick a side. Now you got a team and you're rolling with the pride. Wanna play the game, make it to the end. I wanna bring it back again. I feel it inside. I'm reaching my stride. I'm standing my ground. I won't give in. I'm moving ahead. I'm back from the dead. I'm ready to fight again. Raising the roof, raising the roof, raising the roof. I'm raising the roof. All the mistakes I made, now I can change my fate. No one can take this heart away. First, you gotta pick a side. Now you got a team and you're rolling with the pride. Wanna play the game and make it to the end. I wanna bring it back again. I feel it inside. I'm reaching my stride. I'm standing my ground. I won't give in. I'm moving ahead. I'm back from the dead. I'm ready to fight again. Raising the roof, raising the roof, raising
Live tonight from virtual hell, the notorious road racing circuit in Norway, we say good evening, sim racing fans. We're heat racing for round one of the Subaru iRacing Rallycross All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama. Happy that you're with us on the iRacing Sports Network. We are green already for heat race number one of this 6-week rally championship. We're alongside myself, Evan Pasoko. I'm joined in the broadcast booth by Jonathan Sabana. Jonathan, as the voice of the iRacing Rallycross World Championship, some familiar faces in this, accompanied by some of racing's greatest right now in heat race 1 of 4. 6 drivers bind for the first 2 tickets into the main.
Yep, welcome everybody to the coverage. Great to see one of iRacing's newest circuits on the service. We're already watching Mitchell de Jong in his first heat battle it out, who was our 2018 iRacing World Champion. Can't wait to see how Sami Matti Trogan, our 2019 champion, fares in the next heat. But they're also followed by a multitude of all-star talent throughout not only our rallycross world, but even from IndyCar and from other motorsport disciplines, which is awesome to see.
And it's fun to see them mixed in to this first heat race. Heat racing, seeing 6 cars go at it. The top 2 going to advance into the main event. You see the standings on the left-hand side of your screen right now. And it is Mitchell de Jong at the very top of the board. So far, yet to take the Joker lap, which here at this racetrack is actually the longer way around down in the run to turn number 1. The 24 still leading with Christian Brooks in second. Then it is Travis McCoy in third. Travis Pastrana now brings up another spot to P5 as he got passed by Connor Daly, IndyCar star, off at the top, and it is Atkinson, as you mentioned, on the bottom in position number 6. But this is such a very difficult racetrack, more difficult terrain, I think, than the American tracks like Daytona that we'll see over the course of the rest of this 6-week championship. This racetrack, 2/3 asphalt and basically 1/3 gravel, makes it tricky for these drivers to rip it around, as de Jong's already through 4 laps.
Yeah, exactly. de Jong's looking good here. The race format's going to be 6 laps. The top 2 from this event will head to our final feature race. They'll skip those consolation races, those last chance qualifiers. And Mitchell de Jong is no stranger to first place, of course, not only in the sim racing world, but in rallycross. And you discussed the circuit, Evan. You discussed how it's 1/3 gravel, 2/3 asphalt. But the most important part here is that it's one of the best circuits in the world. It's ever famous, of course, too, in the FIA World Rallycross Championship. And great to see a non-North American circuit make it onto the iRacing service.
It is the newest one to iRacing as the last lap at heat race number 1 is underway, and de Jong is going to go the long way around. Looks like Christian Brooks still yet to take the Joker, going to follow him through. They were hoping that the 3-car of Travis McCoy behind could close the gap a little bit. He's not going to be able to do so, and for those asking, is that Travis Pastrana? Is that Mitchell de Jong? Yes, it is, in this iRacing All-Star Invitational with the rally cars, and it is the driver of the 24 machine, the 2018 iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series champion, who's going to go pole to checkers in heat race 1. De Jong on through to tonight's main event, and some 3.8 seconds behind him, Johnny Brooks going to hang off the 3-car for second.
Yeah, good stuff from them. So Brooks has been very quick throughout practice during the week. He's running the Subaru. And of course, the series presented by Subaru and Yokohama. So brilliant to see the Subaru being run as well. But there's going to be a multitude of other vehicles out there. We've got the VW Beetle and, of course, the Ford Fiesta. So let's see whether or not in Heat 2, which drivers are running which at the moment. Because there are a lot of drivers here, Evan, that are finding that the Subaru, compared to last year, which was the favorite car, has become a little bit slower this year due to iRacing trying to balance it out and trying to even it with the Fiesta and the VW.
The next set of 6 cars ready to go at it, as we've already seen the top 2 from heat race number 1 move on through. So it is going to be Sami Matti Trogan on a pole position for this one. That'll put him to the very inside of a 3-wide run down to turn number 1 with Cabin Big of it, Alexander Rossi, Ron Capps, Garrett Smithley, and Blake Williams on row number 2. Oh, the triple 2. Blake Williams went a little bit early, and now I think a false start as well for Alexander Rossi. So 2 issues on the grid, as it is the one at Trogan leading off into the first turn.
And look at the outside. Rossi's gone straight to the Joker, and he collides there. What looks like with Garrett Smithley, who's gone around at the Joker. So you'll see that here, which is unique about this circuit. You can take the Joker on the opening lap.
And we saw drivers do that right away, almost maybe forced into a position as the 222 of Williams is into the fence again, now through that right-hander, because when you're 3 wide and that run off the turn number 1, you can't really have the opportunity to get down to the inside, so a lot of drivers using that to get the Joker out of the way, and vice versa. I think if Trogan was stuck third on the outside of that one, maybe he would have gone for the Joker. Instead, he was set up nicely for the opening corner, but he did see the pass by Cabot Bigham, got into him a little bit, side-to-side contact, made the pass. But that one car on the bumper of the 2, as right now they would be your transfer spots. A battle for third behind sees Ron Capps in the 28 under fire by Alexander Rossi and the 2 Napa cars trading paint.
Yeah, great to see them out, still scrapping through the middle sector. But like you discussed, you mentioned Cabot Bigham, and whilst he is not racing in the Rallycross World Championship, he is a champion in the real world. He was the 2016 Global Rallycross Lights champion, and he actually beat Mitchell de Jong out for that. Sammy Matty Trogan's going to head to the Joker this lap round. It's about a 3 to 4 second delta time here. So if Trogan is in within about 3 to 4 seconds of Bigham here on this final lap, he should be able to win this heat.
And that is the different strategy that we mentioned with the Joker being the longer way around here. It is going to be different at some of the other tracks that we go to on this 6-week calendar. You mentioned nice to see a non-American track get onto the calendar. We'll be right back here for round number 6 of this championship later this year to crap all things off. And that's where we'll give $10,000 to the series points champion as you see Bigham go for the Joker when a little bit wide on entry. Can Trogan go for the undercut? He's not going to be able to do so. Keeping things radio for the moment. We'll get the picture back to you in just a few seconds, but it is Bigham staying in front of Trogan, lap 4. Both those drivers now done with the Joker.
Good dude is Cabot Bigham. Got to commentate with him last year at Phoenix for round number 5 of our virtual championship, and he looks like he's good enough to potentially win this heat. There aren't really many overtaking spots, Evan, around here, so for Sammy Matty Trogan, turn 1's his best option.
And he looks to the outside. He's going to drive it in hard now, right to the bumper. Not going to make the move. Do they get physical? Right now, they are comfortably ahead of Alexander Rossi, who sits in third. Had that bump and run to get around Ron Capps for that position. Only the top 2 going to make it home. But it looks like Trogan not happy with sitting in second. He is trying to chase down and to make the move on Bigham, the 2016 Global Rallycross GRC Lights champion.
Now, we talked about the e-brake, Evan, or as non-North Americans would call it, just the handbrake. At least we do that in Australia. And right now, there might be a couple of places you use it around here. Certainly not through the tarmac sections, but through this downhill section, the leaders are coming through now in the middle sector at turn 3 and 4. But again, it's not really a place where you want to force the handbrake, at this circuit. Even at the best of circuits or the best of times, Evan, in this car and iRacing, there's very minimal usage of it. And now through the final corner, I think Cabot Bigham's going to win this.
He's going to stay in front. One more look to the inside by the 1, but it is not going to happen. And it was the pass off at the start that gets the job done. Cabot Bigham on and through into the feature race. And Sammy Matty Trogan, well, yes, would have liked a better result in that one. Stayed comfortably on the bumper in second position. And those 2 drivers will advance to the 10-lap main event. Then we'll see a little bit later on once we get through the 4 heat races and the 2 last chance qualifiers. That'll be a 10-lap main event a little bit later on. And you talk about the use of the e-brake. Oh, that was something that Parker Kligerman and James Hinchcliffe talked about this week on In the Wall, a NASCAR driver, an IndyCar driver trying to figure out this rally thing. And one of them is going to be on the grid for Heat Race 3.
Yeah, awesome to see. This Heat Race 3 is going to contain Scott Speed, Andreas Backerud as well. Awesome to see him on the iRacing service. He's been so impressive come practice over the past couple of weeks. We're about ready to go here for another 6 laps of Heat 3, and we go green already. So look to the outside, Evan, here at the beginning. Who's going to take to the Joker? I think we see Backerud up the inside. He doesn't take it. Scott Speed's going to take turn 1 as well, but we see a couple of the drivers behind, including Kligerman, and they've made contact through the Joker.
Yeah, that was Brandon Semenek who made a little bit of a later shallow move into the Joker. Well, Kligerman was trying to go wide. They got into each other, so that kind of destroys that entire strategy right off of the bat. So through all of that, it's Scott Speed leading and Andreas Bakkerud right behind in second position. We talked about the cool mix of drivers here, and how about that for the 28-year-old Norwegian running in second position? He became the first Norwegian to win the Norway round of the FIA World Rallycross Championship here in 2016, and he's trying to replicate that success on the sim.
Yep, here we ride on board with him, and he clean swept this event back in 2016, and he basically won every single qualifier, every heat, even won the feature round. So for Andreas Bakkerud, who's yet to win a championship, hopefully 2020 was his year, and then ironically, we don't have a season so far, but he's driving well here. He knows his way around hell.
Oh, and a wreck behind the 23 Tyler Menninga's got around. You want to talk about a unique mix of, different kinds of pro drivers. The driver of the Gravedigger monster truck involved in this competition. One of the unique drivers involved. He had moved up to third, and we'll take a second look at this one. I was actually just about to compliment him on how he's been able to move up into that spot, but he just caught the barrier on the right-hand side, slapped the back to the left. A four-time Monster Jam Triple Threat Series champion involved in that one.
I've never seen someone smack the barrier to the right-hand side. I've seen people get a bit happy into the left-hand corner as we watch our leaders coming through now for the rest of this race. But the top three is still yet to joker in this race. So we're watching Scott Speed along with Bakkerud and Chad Reed. And so this is the critical part, Evan. If you don't get it done on the first lap, it's all about the rest of the race. I think for the moment, it looks like Speed and Bakkerud should be through to the feature round. Only the top two advance.
And those drivers who have already taken a Joker fourth on the back are more than about that 3 or 4 second Joker delta that we discussed earlier on. So the advantage, obviously, for Kligerman and Semenek kind of wiped out when they took each other out in that very opening lap. Joker, 2 laps to go for Scott Speed up at the front of the field. Looks like he's going to keep that one in the pocket for the last time around as he way opens up his advantage over Bakkerud in second position, 6 seconds off. And Chad Reed's going to go the long way around for the Joker, another one of the unique drivers competing, the 2-time Monster Energy Supercross champion.
Yeah, good stuff from Chad Reed. Always support the Aussies. Oh, and he gets clipped behind as well now, does Chad Reed. That was by Parker Kligerman. And I think Kligerman actually tried to wait there to readdress the position. It was a very clumsy incident between the two.
It's a tough break, and those are two drivers who are not used to driving rally cars. In Chad Reed's case, he's used to the dirt, but not, with 4 wheels and a cage around him. And, you see with Reed now, he's going to get back going here. Last lap into the works up at the front of the field, and Scott Speed obviously going long way around. He gets the Joker out of the way, and it is going to be a handy one from the top of the board, start to finish. Final time at the back half of the racetrack for the driver of the 41 Subaru is he'll get sent for the back half and try to close out heat race number 3.
Scott Speed's won more Rallycross championships than anyone could imagine in North America. He's going to come across the jump and across the finish line. He's winner for Heat 3. That's all that matters for the moment. He'll have decent grid position come the feature race, and Bakkerud will join him in the feature.
Those are the two drivers going to the main event. Parker Kligerman is able to get in third as they're just now coming across the finish line. Chad Reed going to hold on to fourth. Maybe not. Last lap pass. Beating and banging as Brandon Semenek's going to go up and over as they fought to the end. Reed gets fourth. No, Semenek gets it. Kligerman goes to P5 and Menninga's in P6. What a thrilling end to heat race number 3.
That was off camera, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. We'll try to show a replay of it, but we'll try and get that for you in the future. But that was absolutely hilarious coming across the finish line. But here we go for the final heat of the day here. We've got some good drivers in this one. James Hinchcliffe from IndyCar. Look out for Connor Martell on the inside. He's very quick as we're going to go green for another 6 laps of action.
And look at this. Those cars in the back row trying to make it 5 wide. Some contact on the outside as the 29 Hinchcliffe tries to go through the middle. You can see swinging way to the Joker first time through Ryan Truex. But up at the front of the field, Martel trying to hold off Kevin Swindell, a late entry in the 39 VW. You want to talk about a unique entry? The 4-time Chili Bowl national winner right there on the bumper. Both these drivers just ahead of Trevor Pirana, who's in the number 3 spot now.
Chili Bowl might be the greatest name for an event in human history as we ride on board with Swindell through the middle sector. But for Martel right now, he's in prime position to win this heat at the moment. He's got the lead. I would not opt for the Joker until the final lap. When you have some clear track ahead of you, Evan, best thing to do is just lap away and make up as much time as possible.
And we've seen that so far in this race where you're pretty much going first lap through to get kind of behind all of the chaos and try to avoid it. And oftentimes that hasn't worked. It is the Joker lap that has been catching some of these guys out. And if you're up at the front of the field, you just try to run your race with the clean track up in front of you and then up to do it the last time through. But you can really see Martel now try to pull away as he starts to stretch things out at the very front of the field, down into third gear, down at the back half of the racetrack over that kind of de facto jump across the finish straight. And again, he'll stay to the inside. Swindell still P2. So it is Ryan Truex, in fact, the lead car who's taken the Joker, did that on the first lap. And in P4, he may be within striking distance if Swindell continues to drop off a little bit. But Truex and Hinchcliffe fighting for 4th and 5th right now.
And they all run deep into the middle sector here. And Hinch just bullied his way past, didn't he? Ryan Truex. And he's going to make... Yeah, exactly. Now they're still running wide through the final couple of corners. That's Trevor Pirana up ahead. And Hinchcliffe again just bullying his way past. It's all legal here in Rallycross. You got to get physical in this form of racing to make a move.
And all of this is presented in part by Court, the championship online racing teams. You can see Pirana now goes a long way around through the Joker, so there is race control, keeping an eye. And in fact, Pirana has been given a 5-second post-race penalty for an incident on track. They said in the drivers' meeting earlier this afternoon, Johnny, no, front-to-back contact. You can kind of lean on each other. We expect to see that in rally racing, but none of the shunts and punts and down into the corners. And to be fair, a lot of what we've been seeing is that side-to-side and door banging. And
just as you say that, James Hinchcliffe runs deep, coming back onto the tarmac for the middle sector. So he's going to fall down to the 4th position after making his way up through the field quite spectacularly. But as you said, correct, Evan, we've got race control watching to keep these drivers in check, because we know these real-world racers driving in the virtual world, as much as they have a competitive spirit within them, they're always going to want to have a bit of fun and just force people off the racetrack, and that can ironically ruin the fun.
Final time around, though, for Connor Martel up at the front of the field. He's going to go now high-side and wide to the Joker. Kevin Swindell has dropped off significantly as of the last time by. He opted to take his Joker lap, so he tries to undercut, but the 21 machine well and enough out in front, and it'll be a cruise to victory if he could hang on. Now back half of the racetrack, the right-hander through the gravel, slow speed, set it up, and head to the back straight.
Very impressed by Martel. He's been so quick, like I said, during the week in practice. And what a racetrack hell is as he rides through the final corner here. He's going to head straight through to the feature, as you said. So only the top 2 from this race get to do that. So Kevin Swindell will join him. And I have to say, impressive performance from Swindell.
Yeah, especially for such a late entry. He's in through the number 2 spot, so that'll leave Truex, Hinchcliffe, Pirana, and Lofton, who we didn't talk much about in the 6 machine, to head into the host of LCQ. So that's a look at your finishing results for heat race number 4. 8 drivers now have already punched their ticket into the main show, and with only 2 spots left, now's where it gets serious, because we're on the grid for LCQ number 1. 1. 6 laps still, but the transfer number goes down to just 1. You have to win this LCQ if you want to go main event racing. So it'll be Pecoy, Reed, and Pastrana inside to out on the front row, with Semenuk, Atkinson, and Kligerman on row 2, Daly, Meninga, and Truex at the very back of the field as they look to the lights to get this one underway. Can the 3-car Pecoy get it done from the front? Green flag flies. We're back underway. Looking now down to turn 1. Pastrana's going to get tagged. The 199 car way out of control.
And will he receive a slowdown penalty for that by the iRacing service as there's carnage ahead heading into the hairpin?
Yeah, somebody else got turned around and is jacked up at the inside. That's Connor Daly, the NTT IndyCar Series driver, who got tagged. Now another spin. Chad Reed, who started in second, he's off track. Tyler Meninga down into the wall as well. He and Connor Daly can't get away from each other. Bigger field, expected it to be chaotic, but I don't know about that chaotic. And through all of that, still the 3 up in front. Brandon Semenuk takes over second, but again, P2 is no longer good enough. Can he chase down a 1.5 second disadvantage?
So we're going to watch the replay here of what happened in those opening laps, but very chaotic as we expected. Now, I don't think Pastrana's lost too much time from that, but again, some odd stuff here at the start. But like you said here, or like I discussed earlier, Evan, is that the unique part about this circuit is that both Hell and Iowa on the iRacing service allow you to take the Joker on the opening lap, and that's what you saw a lot of drivers do.
And of course, it'll be different when we go to tracks like Daytona. The Daytona International Speedway short course going to be the round next time out next week, April the 17th. We'll go to Sonoma. We'll go to Lucas Oil Raceway, out to Atlanta Motor Speedway for the long course there. So all of those American racetracks. But we will return here to Hell on May 15th for the season finale. Again, all of these drivers fighting in this 6-week championship for a $10,000 donation on their behalf to a charity of their choice. And we just saw the 180 machine take the Joker lap that time through at lap number 3. So you're going to see the advantage for the 3 of Travis Pecoy at the front of the field grow as he continues to keep it on track and on the straight and narrow, some 3 seconds up.
19 years old is Travis Pecoy, very young. He's from California, of course. And he's still got some time in this race right now to take that Joker. So we're expecting him to fall behind the leader, Brandon Semenuk, which is critical because only your first place driver will head to that feature race final unless Pecoy can make up another second here. Like we discussed, the Joker Delta time is 3.8 seconds at Hell RX. Will he take it this lap by? He doesn't. He heads through the double apex turn 1 and 2, and he's gonna have to take it next time by.
And you can see the 180 machine, Semenuk behind, is going to go around and take his Joker lap. So for the 180 machine, he's now going to get stuck behind Parker Kligerman in traffic. So the 77 now takes over second position. Of course, you can see who still needs to take a Joker or not with that lap number at the very top of the screen. Underneath each driver's name will indicate if they have or not. But for Travis Pecoy, the driver who just a couple of years ago traded the off-road racing for the rallycross, he's scored multiple podiums since then, and he's on the final lap at LCQ number 1. There's his Joker.
Think it's good enough now for Pecoy, and he should be heading to the feature. That was much easier than I thought it was. I was looking at the wrong times probably because he's in front by a country mile at the moment as he heads through the middle sector. Love this gravel portion through here. You want to throw the car in, let the four-wheel drive do all the work on the exit. Use your right foot to just floor it out of there. But for Pecoy, the 19-year-old, he's through to the feature round for the first race of our All-Star Invitational.
Smooth and steady, top to bottom, Pecoy gets the job done. And you wanted to talk about drivers who had a challenge up for them. How about a round of applause, Parker Kligerman there. P2, so close to challenge it in. He comes up short. Semenuk finishes in third. Travis Pastrana unable to come back from that early incident. And you can see how he feels about that one after he went for the Joker off of the bat. He finishes fourth. Atkinson, Reed, Meninga, and Daly, they are all going home. That's the end of LCQ number 1. Only one more spot left now on the feature race grid as we get set for another 8-par LCQ number 2.
By the way, we need to see more of that. More drivers wrecking after the race. It's so entertaining as we begin the final consolation race of the day. The drivers are just about taking to the grid right now. We've got Ron Capps, Ryan Truex, and Alexander Rossi on the front row, followed by Hinchcliffe, Garrett Smithley, Justin Lofton, and then the final couple of drivers include Blake Williams and Trevor Pirana. So, again, an all-star cast of drivers. This will be the final consolation race, and then we head straight to the feature. Is that a false start for Ron Capps?
He had the top spot, too, but he went too early. The 54-year-old American, and I think that's going to take him out of this race now. He's made contact with Hinchcliffe, and somehow through all of the chaos, it looks like it's Truex out in front.
And it looked like Hinchcliffe was going to spear his way through turn number 1 and take out the rest of the pack. And now we have drivers stranded all over the racetrack. Trevor Pirana and the Subaru going nowhere. Ryan Truex, though, leads the race so far.
He's out in front and doing a good job. No. The older brother, as he gets into the fence there, though, is going to go out into the grass and check out behind him. Here's another NASCAR name, and Garrett Smithley. Both of these drivers have made starts in basically all of NASCAR's top 3 series. They've been in and around the ball, driving to part-time schedules. And who would have thought it would be the NASCAR guys? 1 and 2. Truex, the brother to NASCAR Cup Series champion Martin Truex Jr., not to get the two confused.
Yeah, definitely not. As we watch Smithley on board there, just trying to fight for the lead here with Truex. This is so entertaining right now to see these drivers pushing to the limit. Surely a few smiles on the faces. And again, through this race, only the first driver or the top driver will head through to the feature. So these Joker laps are going to be important. Truex and Smithley haven't taken to that Joker, and they're not going to take to it this time by.
But I got to say, we talk about Ron Capps having that issue off of the lights, and we talk about the different drivers involved. Kevin Swindell, who we just complimented, was joking with Ron Capps over the driver radio and said, shouldn't the drag race guy be better on the lights? Ron Capps, the, of course, NHRA champion from a couple of years back, got caught out there, and he's recovered to P4, but I don't think that's going to be enough for the 28 car to get all the way back up front. I
don't think the clutch can overheat and slip here, but we'll use that excuse for Ron Capps, who, I'm not joking, Evan, once traveled at over, I think it was 526 kilometers an hour, which is his record, which the only thing quicker than that in the world at the moment are these runners running at me when I go for a walk at the park, and you don't know whether to go left or right because it's very awkward when you meet into him. But Ron Capps is an ever esteemed drag racer in the funny car, and he's a champion back in 2016, and hopefully more to come in the future, but he's enjoying himself in the dirt world here for now.
And these drivers have been having some of those awkward to go left to go right moments in the corners here as well, with how rough and tough some of these heat races at LCQs have been. It's 2 laps to go for Truex up front. He's opened things up to 1.9 seconds over Alexander Rossi now in second position after we saw Garrett Smithley go for the Joker lap the last time through. And we talk about how cool it is to see all these drivers involved, Johnny. Not only that, but of course to support a good cause. Round 1 here tonight is the St. Christopher's Truckers Relief Fund iRacing Rallycross of Norway, supporting that charity, which is a truck delivery charity that helps over-the-road and regional semi-truck drivers and their families when an illness or injury occurring within the last year has caused them to be out of work. So the SCF is also working to provide programs that will benefit professional drivers and the trucking industry. We encourage you to join us and donate at truckersfund.org/Yokohama as we're on the last lap of LCQ2.
And Ryan Truex took to the Joker, and that handed the lead back to Alexander Rossi. So Rossi will head through to the feature. Our Andretti driver from IndyCar, and he heads through to the final corner here to make his way through to the feature. It's been a good race from him. Unfortunately for teammate James Hinchcliffe at IndyCar, who won't be going anywhere. He'll be going home, unfortunately, but it's been a good opening event for him. But brilliant stuff by Rossi to cross the line and win this final consolation race of the day.
And I guess he did the right thing, which was keep it clean, so we didn't talk about him, and he's able to sneak through and win. So Rossi, the 2016 Indianapolis 500 champions on through, sneaking around Truex there late, who comes in second. Smithley, Hinchcliffe 3-4, with Ron Capps, Justin Lofton, Trevor Parada, and Blake Williams top to bottom as a look at the finishing results from LCQ number 2. So it is a wide array of drivers who are going to be competing in that 10-lap main event due up next. And I think that this is kind of what we expected to see out of this one, as these drivers have about 2 minutes, Johnny, to get warmed up and kind of get after it. Let's talk more about what this championship will see. Again, $10,000 to the eventual champion of all of this. And it gets kicked off with what I think, having dabbled in some of the rally car stuff, not competitively on iRacing, but just for fun, is probably one of the more difficult tracks is on the calendar, and of course we throw these guys into it first.
Yeah, exactly. iRX, also known as Lunkenbeinen. I might have just butchered the pronunciation. I've heard about 4 different pronunciations, Evan, from 4 different people.
I didn't even try to say it, so kudos to you for going for it. I haven't even given it a shot tonight.
I did speak to someone who was Norwegian, and they told me the correct way to pronounce it is Lunkenbeinen, but they also told me that everyone just calls it iRX, and so just call it iRX for now. It's one of the most brilliant circuits in the world of iRacing, 1 kilometer in length. That's 0.6 miles, depending on your units of choice. And it contains copious amounts of elevation changes. And in the real world, has one of the best atmospheres for a crowd I've ever seen in the world of motorsports. It's absolutely insane as they park themselves up the top of the hill. But of course, you mentioned the charity too, Evan, and that will be $10,000 heading to one of the charities on the driver's behalf who was able to win this All-Star Invitational.
And the points, of course, heavily skewed to those who finish up at the front. We talked about some of the differences and similarities between this and the normal iRacing Rallycross World Championship. 40 points up for grabs to the winner, 30 to second, and then it'll go 25, 20, and 15 for third, fourth, and fifth position. It'll trail down, so last place in the main event gets 2. So obviously heavily weighted to do good in these, which means that a driver could get away with a suboptimal performance 1 week or 2 if they could pull together some wins. 6 weeks, I think, enough time to see some of that come into play.
Yeah, very similar point system to the World Championship. And so it's also one that will help these drivers. I mean, you really have to head to the feature to gain the most points, which is the critical part. But we'll have a look at today's grid. There'll be 10 drivers for this final feature race, 10 laps of action, 1 joker available to all of them.
And it is going to be a stacked front row with the 24 of Mitchell DeYoung bringing us to the green flag. Could be way to the inside, right-hand side, with Captain Bigham in the middle, and Scott Speed left-hand side of the front row in the 41 car. Connor Mertel, you've also got Christian Brooks and Semi-Matty Trogan, row 2, inside to out, along with Andreas Baccarud, Kevin Swindell, and then our LCQ transfers in Travis Picoy and Alexander Rossi. 10 cars on track, ready to go for 10 laps, 1 joker in the main event of the St. Christopher's Truckers Relief Fund iRX of Norway. They're on track, ready to go as we say, let's go racing at Motorsport Hell, looking for the 24 car, green flag, let's go to turn 1.
Look to the outside here. All those drivers are going to head to the Joker. Picoy, joined by, that looks like, ahead of him.
Is
that Flip as well down the back of the pack?
It was a Napa car. I'm guessing it's Rossi, and it is. Bigham also got moved up and out of the way, Johnny, down into 1. I was up in the dirty stuff. Rossi ended up on his lid, and this has put Mitchell DeYoung in a very good position, leading now atop Andreas Baccarud, who after starting in 7th has moved his way to 2nd. That's big gains for the driver who did not get a good result that he wanted in the heat race. Of course, coming home in a runner-up spot that put him 7th on the grid. This big jump's going to help him a lot.
And on that first lap, it was Scott Speed along with Sami-Matty Trogan, our 2019 virtual champion on Rallycross, also races in RX2 last year, and now he's had some contact with Cabot Bigham.
So a tough call there. Both those drivers around after Biga went for the Joker, came back down on Trogan. They slid into each other. They both went around, and you can't really get away with a mistake like that in a 10-lap dash main event. And this is why drivers, as we go on board with Connor Martell now on the bumper as he tries to chase down Andreas Backerud in this fight for second right now. Nearly 2 seconds off for race leader Mitchell DeYoung. He now goes to the bottom, and they're going to lean on each other. This is why drivers take that Joker early or late as they try to avoid this right here, Johnny, and that's traffic. It's great for us to watch. And he's going to turn him. Had enough of that, and he sends Backerud for a ride, but then looks like the 13 car going to regain it.
It's very tough to judge spatial awareness on the simulator, of course, compared to the real world. So that's why you see Martell just force Backerud off the racetrack. Not intentional at all, but I really hope we get to see Backerud take to the Joker, because he was the most entertaining throughout the practice sessions as he just sent it through there into the Joker lap, and there he goes once again. You saw him absolutely launch it, and now back out onto the racetrack in P4 behind Scott Speed.
So we can see where Scott Speed ends up kind of through that delta because, again, as you mentioned, he took the Joker on lap number 1. So he's already almost onto the back of Martell, who sits now in second position. And, of course, Mitchell DeYoung at the very top of the field, still yet to take that. Going to be 4 laps down of 10 this time through. Rossi's night is done. He never got that car back right side up, so he's going to make it to the feature, but he will collect a minimum points for that effort. Still a really good showing for the 7-time NTT IndyCar Series race winner. Doing some of the rally stuff. A lot of these drivers have been kind of all over the place on iRacing these last few weeks, not just in the rally stuff, but, you know, bringing out the likes of DeYoung and Pecoy and Trogan when we get these cars onto the racetrack. Finally, as we take a look at Scott Speed in third, again, trying to make a move on the 21 machine of Martell, but that is not for position technically. 21 cars still needing to take his Joker. And just a little bit further back down the road for Pecoy, trying to fight with Andreas Backerud, 4th and 5th position. Those drivers in a spot where they would be dueling it out 4 spots on track. And again, we talked about how weighted it was to finish further up in the running order. But, you know, admittedly, if I'm Mitchell DeYoung, you got to need about 4 or 5 seconds to be safe. Right now, 4.7 atop Martell, who still needs to Joker. So we're looking at Scott Speed, 5.8 seconds back. DeYoung should be good, and if that wasn't good enough the last time by, let's see, DeYoung's lap a 37.271. It was a 37.688 for Scott Speed. So, I mean, Speed is good, probably second best car on track right now, but unless the 24 makes a mistake, he's looking pretty comfortable right now.
I think you're spot on there. Mitchell DeYoung is by far the best rallycross racer on iRacing, and the only reason, in my opinion, he didn't win that 2019 championship over Sami Matti Trogan is because he had to miss 2 rounds. And when you miss 2 rounds, it essentially, obviously, you score 0 points, and that doesn't help your championship chances at all. So the fact that he was still in it in the final couple of races says it all. But no discredit to Trogan, who drove splendidly in his rookie season. But for Mitchell DeYoung here, he's running... Haven't seen him run the VW, Evan, since 2018, which is an interesting choice. So good for Mitchell DeYoung to make the switch. And it's interesting to see how he fares. He was one of the first entrepreneurs to head into the Subaru when it was new, and he proved that it really worked here on a worn track come the feature race.
And not just success in the rallycross as we pick up the battle between Martell and Speed, but as well finished second in the 2018 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, second last year in the VRS GT iRacing World Championship. So a noted sim racer as well as a 2-time X Games medalist in rallycross lights. So the driver of that 24 machine, the 22-year-old American, knows his way around a sim circuit and a real circuit as well, and he is putting it to him now as Scott Speed's trying his best to not get held up by Martell, just can't really get to the 21, who at this point now come to the white flag, is going to be saving the Joker for the last time by as DeYoung sees it, lap number 10 now in the works.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. The unique part about European Joker laps is that you actually lose time compared to our US North American Joker laps, where you actually cut the track and gain time on your opposition. So brilliant to see iRacing bring the European side of the service for Rallycross, and Mitchell de Jong is on his way towards a race victory here for round number 1 of the Subaru iRacing Rallycross All-Star Invitational.
It's clear racetrack in front of him. Final left-hander now back on to the asphalt. He'll get the job done. He won his heat race. He'll win the main. It is Mitchell de Jong, race winner of the opening round of the Subaru iRacing Rallycross All-Star Invitational, presented by Yokohama. Gets it done at Motorsport Hell for round number 1 at Norway. And just to show things off, he'll do a burnout lap all the way around the joint. Gets the job done. Total margin of victory 4.3 seconds over Scott Speed, who comes home in second. A great way to kick off this six-week invitational with tonight's St. Christopher's Truckers Relief Fund iRX of Norway. We'll recap it all and take a look at those full results. Connor Martel also mentioned he's able to round out the podium in third position, and we'll do our very best to talk to those top 3 finishers. Martel, the 2018 America's Rallycross Championship ARX2 champion, just ahead of Andreas Baccarut, a race winner here in the real world, comes home in 4th. Travis McCoy finishing in 5th position. Kevin Swindell, Christian Brooks, and Cabot Bigham good enough to stay on the lead lap, and it was not a feature race to remember for the one is Sammy Matty Trogan, who drops to 9th, and of course Alexander Rossi, who did not see the end of lap 1.
You know what would be interesting, Evan, is running a feature race with 24 drivers, which I'm not sure is possible, but I'd love to see something like that, because I can tell you it would be absolutely chaotic.
It was chaotic with 10, and let's talk to the driver who came out on top of it all, driving the number 24 VW tonight. It is Mitchell de Jong, who's going to victory lane, and let's see if we've got him up on the radio. Mitchell, do you copy?
I got you guys.
Well, first and foremost, congratulations. First race winner of this Subaru iRacing Rallycross All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama. Just talk us through the night, obviously, able to get that heat race 1 win right out of the way nice and early and get in front of a lot of the chaos that happened in that main event.
Yeah, for sure. Qualifying's everything here. I started second in the test race yesterday and, got hit in turn 1 and pretty much had to fight from the back. So I knew that qualifying would be crucial. Fortunately, we got the pole. It was super close to Sammy Matty, as well as Scott too. I think it was third. It was kind of one of those like essential laps, and starting on pole for the first heat, had a clean one. Was able to start on pole for the feature because of being pole in qualifying, and pretty much that just kind of sets the tone. So very thankful that everything went as good as I could have asked for and stayed out of the trouble, and here we are.
We mentioned once or twice that 2018 iRacing Rallycross World Championship as well, but of course this circuit, the Norwegian racetrack, the newest rallycross track onto the iRacing service, very, very different than how the American tracks race. So what are some of the unique features that make this place not only difficult, but I think fun as well? Looked like you were having a good time up front.
For sure. It's so cool to have a track like this on iRacing. We didn't have it in the World Championship this past year, but it's definitely cool to have it. It feels like a true, proper rallycross track. Hopefully we get some more sometime. But yeah, this is a really cool one. It's very hard to drive, actually. In the corner where you have that big sweeping, dirt section, if you kind of miss the curve a little bit, you can easily lose half a second. So it's very essential to hit the line just right, and if you can do that, then you really can make up some good time. So yeah.
Well, there's no better way to start this 6-week championship. We head to the short course at Daytona International Speedway next week for the second time out. But of course, the whole premise of this Subaru iRacing Rallycross All-Star Invitational is that you guys are all racing to beat each other, but also to get the $10,000 donated to a charity of your choice on your behalf. Have you allowed yourself to think of who you're racing for yet, if this season can continue on this path?
Truly, I didn't actually know that it was of our choice. That's actually awesome. I'll have to think about it now. But yeah, I thought it was decided, but no, that's cool. I mean, the fact that we could, go and do this for such a good cause, it's, that's fantastic. And it's a good amount of money too, especially with the times right now. They're, really, really difficult. So it's cool that it was able to be organized like this. All the drivers here, we're here to have a good time, but we're also super competitive. So it's just, another layer on top of a cool thing.
Yeah, we'll see how lighthearted it stays as we get into rounds 2 and 3, and these guys start to build some rivalries across the different racing series. But Mitchell, congratulations on the feature race win this evening, and as well, thank you for allowing us to chat with you. Congrats, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks a ton. Thanks for having me.
Race winner at round 1 of this Subaru iRacing Rallycross All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama. It is the VRS VW on top of the St. Christopher's Truckers Relief Fund iRX of Norway. Notable drivers, second place in this one, Johnny Scott Speed comes home second. You're on the radio with the driver of the 41 car.
Time to speak to a man who's won a plethora of championships in the Rallycross universe. Scott, we got you there.
Yeah, I think so. You guys read me?
Yeah, we got you. That's awesome to see you back in the virtual world, finishing second with great speed, and you're bringing that Subaru Motorsports USA car home in the second place. But I want to ask about your experience around hell. Is this a circuit you've driven in the real world?
No, I haven't been out there, so it is actually kind of cool to go on such an iconic rallycross track and get to drive it. Because, even though this is a simulator and it's virtual, the cars do drive extremely similar as they do in real life. You're just missing the fear and a little bit of the feel. But it is cool to get a vibe and a feel for a track as cool as hell.
And talk about the Joker laps around here, because obviously it works a little different to North America, where you actually cut the track and gain some time. The European version would throw you off a little bit, and it's so unique at hell because you can also take it on the first lap.
Yeah, for me, the Joker's a strategy. It's no different than any other corner, so whether it's longer or shorter, you still are playing the hand you dealt. Obviously, when you're starting from the outside of row 1, it just seemed kind of like a no-brainer decision to have to send it into the Joker. Yeah, it's definitely a cool track, and I think it races pretty well as well.
Yeah, it's awesome. And Subaru Motorsports USA, unfortunately, you guys aren't out there racing in the real world in 2020, but hopefully you guys can get back out there as soon as possible, basically.
No, we got races. We have races with the Nitro Circus in Utah. That's like the most extreme version of Rallycross, but it's obviously not like the FIA stuff that you guys are doing. We actually have gap jumps and cool stuff. So we'll be out there later this year.
Yeah, awesome. Anything else as well? Any sponsors to plug? I know you guys have brought in an all-star cast as well for the crew here in the All-Star Invitational, but we'll see you back out there at Daytona in more familiar territory, I hope.
Yeah, certainly at least back to a track that I've driven in real life. Maybe there's an advantage there. However, I don't think catching Mitchell DeYoung is in our future. He's got far too many hours on this thing for me to compete, but it's fun to sort of be the better one of the rest, if you will.
See, this is where you wish it was the real world, so you'd be back on top.
Yeah, I certainly would feel more comfortable in a real Subaru, that's for sure.
All right, we'll leave you to it, Scott. Hopefully see you next week, of course. And Evan, great to see Scott Speed back out there and still as speedy as ever. No pun intended.
Well, thanks, guys. For that one, nice and easy. And a big thanks as well to Mitchell and Scott for chatting with us post-race in this one as they came home 1-2 in the feature race for Motorsport Hell. Of course, a big thanks as well to all of the drivers competing in this one. Of course, with the lack of real-life racing, I know they've certainly been itching to get real-world racing, but everybody over here at iRacing, Johnny's been keeping them super busy with all these different events. We've seen Ron Capps at every kind of race car you could imagine, Connor Daly, James Hinchcliffe, and Alexander Rossi. Those guys all the same, but really fun to bring the rally and the road guys out there, mix them in with the iRacing pros, literally, and the pros from other disciplines, and put on a really good show that should be a ton of fun for the 5 weeks still to come.
Yeah, exactly. This is going to be an insane few weeks coming up, of course. We head to Daytona next week, like you discussed, Evan, and iRacing have put on one of the best calendars you could put on for an all-star invitational. We head to Sonoma for round number 3, one of the most entertaining tracks on the iRacing service. And Evan, when we did a pre-race sort of survey with our World Championship drivers, they voted Sonoma as one of their favorite tracks, along with Atlanta's long layout. And Atlanta hosts round number 5. We also head to Lucas Oil for round 4. Back to Hell for the final round, and we could potentially have further events added depending upon whether or not the COVID-19 virus situation improves, which we hope it does.
And certainly hope that, by all of us involved in these kind of events, putting these on, that we can keep you entertained, and hope that everybody is, staying home and staying safe and healthy through these times. But I did want to ask one more question before we step aside as the voice of the iRacing Rallycross World Championship, and of course very familiar with these drivers. One more time about that schedule with Daytona, Sonoma, Lucas Oil in Atlanta, and back here as kind of our iRacing Rallycross expert. Your thoughts on the 5 weeks still to come, and kind of sell to everybody why we should see them for the next 5 Fridays.
You've got the world's best talent here racing in the virtual world, of course, mixing it in with some of our best virtual talent, along with Mitchell de Jong and Sammy Matty Trogan. And can I also add a quick segue? Credit to our sim racers for helping these guys get up to speed on the simulator as quick as possible. Yes, they're not racing in the real world, but they're so experienced on these simulators, they're able to give these drivers the tricks of the trade to be quick around a racetrack such as Hell 2, which is brand new to the service, and they've been hard at testing the likes of Josh Fox, Connor Parisi from Jim Beaver Esports, and so many more too. So credit to them too, but these next few tracks with our world's best talent is going to be on fire. And let's not forget too, Evan, we've got some other drivers coming in the next few weeks. We're hoping to see Tanner Faust show up here a couple of times. He's been on holiday at the moment, so he's unable to participate. But along with him, we've got some other new names up our sleeves that we hope will add to the grid and increase our audience just a little bit more.
Especially if you're a race fan of any kind, there is somebody in here for you, and hope that you enjoyed the coverage tonight and that you're with us the next time out. But until then, that's it for us here tonight from Norway. On behalf of our entire team behind the scenes, for Chris Leote, Cisco Scarabuzza, the court team for doing the admin stuff, and of course for your broadcast team tonight. For myself, Evan Pasoko, and for Jonathan Saban, I want to thank you for tuning in and to congratulate Mitchell de Jong, race winner of the St. Christopher's Truckers Relief Fund iRX of Norway. We'll be back with you next Friday. It is a 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time start for the virtual Daytona International Speedway. That race and every race of the Subaru iRacing Rallycross All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama can be found right here on the iRacing Esports Network. Until next time, good night.